Like every human, I'm an empath. Most people don't recognize it. They keep themselves in a fog. The thing that makes me a little bit different than most is I've been aware that I am empathic since birth. Did I have a word for it before? No. But I was experiencing it. I knew the symptoms and what was going on, more or less. Now, there is all sorts of chaos in our world and a lot of discontent. What I find I guess you could say funny in one of the most frustrating ways is how people damage themselves by ignoring every sense that doesn't make immediate sense to them. It took me a long time to be able to manage the strength of my empathy. I had to go to some relatively extreme measures and block myself in several ways so that I could continue to function in some sort of an intellectual fashion. I have been doing this again since I can remember, without help, because anytime I try to tell somebody that this is what I'm experiencing, they don't want to believe it. They want to simply say, "You're crazy." 90% of the people who sit there and point their fingers at somebody and say, "You are crazy," are actually crazy themselves and just don't realize it. Kind of the definition of crazy, isn't it? I, on the other hand, am, I want to say, fully aware of my mental damage, I guess you could say. I'm not sure fully aware is quite right because you can never be completely aware of yourself. It's never going to happen. But I have made extensive effort where anytime I try to describe the process that I go through, people say, "Quit doubting yourself, quit doubting yourself, quit doubting yourself." Wait a minute. If I'm going to take the responsibility of myself, then I can't ignore the things that myself is saying, if that makes sense. So, all these people that think they have the answer for me because it looks so simple. I'm going to tell you right now, point blank, nope. I look like a lot of things. If you try to find reasons to discount, discredit, or whatever, then you're going to find them. If you try to figure out how what I'm saying is truthful, guess what? You're going to find it. That's the trick of fractal communication. If the receiver is not taking the responsibility to understand what is being said, then the message gets garbled because somebody already thinks they know. And kind of like how people think they know a lot of things, like how we get electricity and why it's necessary to run power lines across the nation. I'm sorry, if you honestly believe that that's a necessity, you're ignorant. You're not ignorant because you're stupid. You're ignorant because you've been ignoring what's plainly right in front of your face. But since you've been taught that certain things are a certain way, you won't even look. You've already been told, you know it already, right? You won't test it out yourself. Why try? It's not going to work. After all, if there really was a car that could run efficiently off of water alone without having any real sort of negative pollution, something that actually has clean pollution, or rather clean byproduct, I guess you should say, now, obviously they'd already have that out on the market if they could actually do that, right? You want to think again and actually take a good, honest look at the society that you have supported and sacrificed and paid for in a lot of ways. The only reason why people think I'm crazy in this world is because they themselves have been taught that a form of insanity, delusional insanity, is truth. This is the fact with religion, business, government, law. All of them are fiction. None of them do what their stated intentions are. America, land of the free, home of the brave. How free are we? We've accepted slavery and called it responsible work. We've destroyed our families for the same thing. The reason why this world is shit is because all these good, respectable people that really are intelligent have already been trained to ignore the truth. And because they think they know the truth, they never bother to ask. How many people out there that are crazy were made so because this society just simply refused to see the truth? How many people realize that what we call a society is no such thing? It's an anti-society. It works hard to exclude as many people as possible from what they consider society. Since it's so exclusive, it must be important, right? I find myself at a loss for words with a lot of this kind of stuff simply because of how blatantly stupid it all is. It doesn't look like it when you're right in the middle of it. When you're pounding the pavement or getting up every day, you're spending all your time with work. Your mind is consumed and focused with work. Why? Because that's the responsible thing to do. Well, if you have a family, the responsible thing to do would be to pay attention to your family instead of ignoring them for a few bucks that actually isn't going to support shit. We've fed into this lie for generations. We've allowed ourselves to be led right down the garden path that everybody's been warned about because it isn't what it seems. But it doesn't matter how many times somebody warns somebody if they won't listen to the warning. I'm not the only one to have said the same types of things that I'm saying. But until people start recognizing the pattern that all the truth is being called crazy, conspiracy theory, stupid, it's just dumb, from the dummies. Yeah, every time somebody goes and tries to throw one of those labels at me, I just have to stare at them and go, why are you calling me the very thing that you are doing? Well, because you're not paying attention to yourself. You're paying attention to everyone else so that you can point fingers at everyone else so that you don't have to look at you. The very thing that our society, our religion, and our government has carefully taught us and trained us to do. I am going absolutely nuts, to put it mildly. Somebody who's actually aware of their empathic talents might actually recognize what I'm getting ready to say, especially if they've been able to hone it enough to be able to essentially feel/hear the entire portrait, picture, whatever that is our planet. Imagine first, actually, think of any sort of horrific trauma that's happened in your life. I want you to keep that in mind. Remember how it felt. Remember the confusion. Remember the mess. Remember how difficult it was for you to process all those emotions. If you have at this point in your life. Now, imagine, if you will, waking up every day and feeling that. Not because something's happened to you, but you know something's happened. You just don't know to who or where or why or how or anything else. The only thing you have is the intense feeling. In a world where disbelief is practiced religiously, that is enough to drive anybody mad. Especially when you add on top of it being aware of how the people closest to you are tearing themselves apart and you blindly. If you can actually understand what I just said about all that, then you understand what my life has kind of been like. At least for the most part. I've gone through real trauma. I've dealt with real trauma. What helped me get through that real trauma was experiencing that real trauma before I experienced it emotionally and to some degree mentally. See, it doesn't matter if your intent is to help the homeless if the only thing you do is hand out a sack lunch. Does it help? Sure. Go to the beach, throw in the starfish. Is it going to help? It'll help the starfish. People are ignoring what is needed because they have been forced into positions where they don't have anything to give. And they've done it by choice. Of course, if you didn't actually choose that, you would wind up being kind of like me. Mocked, ridiculed, locked up, attacked. And all because everybody wants to believe something that isn't true. Because the truth I've got that classical line. You can't handle the truth. Yeah, something like that. And the saddest part about all of it is the only reason why nobody can handle the truth, for the most part, is because they prefer to remain ignorant. It feels more comfortable. Then you can pretend to be innocent. If you make money for a living, you are complicit to murder and theft, genocide, torture, child abduction. Yeah, our government does all that. So do the corporations that support it. The very corporations we support with our unrecognized votes called a dollar bill. Oh, you thought you were voting in a ballot box? Idiot. Here's your sign. Have you figured out what the frickin' show is and what's real? You're part of the show because you've made the show. You've made the show because you've chosen not to ask questions, which is your responsibility. At least that's what an adult's responsibility is. So how many of you are actually being adult? No. Most of us choose to be immature. Because then we don't have to face the guilt that we feel. We can ignore that guilt. We can push it away. It feels a lot better. And if somebody goes and points out that guilt, oh, now we have the right to defend ourselves because we're being attacked. And yet you're still ignoring the fact that your actions are attacking people around you. You cannot exclude anyone from society. The instant you start excluding people, you no longer have a society. You have an anti-society. Gentlemen's club. Good old boys. Country club. Whatever you want to call it. You have a cult. Every person in America who is proud to be an American citizen has bought into the delusion that America is free, independent, and full of opportunity. We get to point to the people that we send across seas and call them heroes. But that's because we aren't looking at what's actually taking place. When people objected to Vietnam, what was America's reaction to that? Americans spitting on soldiers coming back from Vietnam? Did they deserve it? Yes and no. Why yes? Because their actions weren't anywhere close to the stated intent. Did they do this intentionally? Probably not. You were duped into sacrificing your life and limb for a lie. I got a lot of respect for the ones that do want to put their lives on the line for what they believe. Although it's awfully stupid to put your life on the line for something you believe when you haven't even tested the damn belief. Everybody wants to casually go along their lives and la-di-da-di-da, this is life, oh, have fun, let's not pay attention to the shit that we're dropping along the way. Oh, did you get hurt? I'm sorry, la-di-da-di-da, it wasn't my fault. Do you see how airheaded Americans actually are? I'm a responsible adult. I'm so responsible that I sell my time that I should be with my family to some corporation that's going to destroy my family in the future by charging an exorbitant price for a loaf of bread. We already got $2 a loaf. You want to make it 5? How about 10? Are you really that stupid? I don't think anybody in America is actually that stupid. You can choose to remain that stupid. You have the intelligence to change it. All you have to do is look. Open those eyes. Pay attention. Very few people do that. Your responsibility. You're failing. You can't stop being ignorant by ignoring more. Ignoring more makes you more ignorant. So if you want me to quit using the word ignorant, quit being ignorant.